Hey everybody, welcome back to the Butterfly Effect podcast. I'm your host, Steph.
And I'm Liz.
And we are so excited to be here today. How are you doing?
I'm tired.
Yeah, you look a little tired.
How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. I'm a little tired too, but not as tired as you are.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with me.
You're getting your period. Sorry for all our
that's
male
true.
listeners. You are getting your period, so that's what's wrong. Which is nothing's wrong.
Love that.
Yeah, nothing's wrong. So yeah, I'm doing actually pretty good. I am working ministry, speaking at different conferences. God's just been opening
really
a bunch of doors. Like last time we spoke, just back and forth, meeting with different people, and things are, I guess, starting to connect what God is calling me to do.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you guys remember before, like a few podcasts before, I was saying how I don't have like a set thing. Like I don't know this set thing that God is calling me to. I just know that I'm just walking through these different doors and just, I guess, hoping for the best wouldn't be the best way to describe it, but just trusting that at some point everything would kind of align itself.
Right.
If that makes sense. But yeah, other than that, I'm doing good. I can't complain.
Good. That's good to hear. I'm all right.
All right. I need a little bit more enthusiasm from that end.
I'm great.
Oh my God. How's music going? Talk to us a little bit about that.
It's going good. Again, it's like an up and down thing. Like I'll be really motivated or like really inspired, and then I'll have moments where I'm in like a rut and I can't even think about it without having a mental breakdown. So those are one of the, that's
I think it's not that it's normal to have mental breakdowns, but
I guess I call them mental breakdowns, but it's definitely nothing compared to what a real mental breakdown is. I just mean like I have moments where I like second guess everything, or I'm scared and like reality kind of sets in, and my perspective kind of gets a little clouded, and it's just like scary.
Yeah. But that's what I was trying to say was that like I think that is normal.
Yeah.
Because you're stepping into something that's totally new.
Right.
Like you don't have like a map.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's normal to have moments where you're like, oh, I'm afraid.
Yeah, which is so funny because like I did this like 10 years ago. So like I know exactly like what I'm supposed to do, how I'm supposed to do it, who I'm supposed to, you know what I mean? Like I know how it works, but it's such a different type of like perspective because I really just don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
So, and I have to admit that, and it's really scary to admit that.
Right. Especially because this is what you want to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It's not like a hobby.
No, and it's like, in a sense, I am kind of getting, I'm kind of a little behind in a sense when it comes to this industry age-wise. So that's like really scary. Normally these people are like doing this since they like came out the womb, where I have been singing since I was a child, but it's I haven't necessarily been pursuing it in this sense until now.
Yeah.
And so that's a little scary for me because, I'm nervous that my voice, like no one's going to care because of my age, or, you know what I mean? I just look at statistics, like these people have been doing it for years, and then finally like people hear their music and they're like my age is when people start to actually like hear people, and they have been doing it for 5+ years. Right. You know what I mean? So it's a little nerve-wracking for me.
Yeah. That makes sense. I think that their strength is in admitting that.
Yeah.
Like saying like, man, I'm scared. Like this is a scary step. I know that there's people out there that can probably relate to you,
sure.
Other artists that are hustling, or other artists that are like, man, I want to step into my artistry, but these are my fears. So I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that can relate. We just want to encourage you guys, like you're not alone. Part of the reason why we started Butterfly Effect, if you've been following us this far, thank you guys so much for following us, or if you just joined, welcome. Part of the reason we started it was for vulnerability and authenticity, is for us to be able to share our stories to encourage other people, which is why I'm so excited about tonight's topic, because it's us talking about what it means to overcome the fears that you're pretty much sharing now, and the steps that we take to kind of overcome these fears, because me and you are called to two different things, but in a sense they're still very big platforms.
I agree.
And so fear is presented in these different ways for the both of us. So I'm excited to kind of dive in and talk about it, because I also believe that it brings healing. So that's why we like to give people room to share their story, or to share what they're doing and how they're helping the world through what they've been through. So tonight, do you want to tell everybody what we're talking about?
Overcoming our fears.
Yeah, we're talking about overcoming our fears. Which is really good, because whether you are a musician, you're a teacher, you're a doctor, you're in college and high school, we each are presented with a certain fear. And we have a choice on whether or not we overcome that, or whether we succumb to that fear.
I feel like there's a... Sorry.
Good.
I feel like there's like a really bad like stigma behind having a fear. Like you're not supposed to, or like if you do have a fear, then you're weak, or that you're not confident in yourself. And I don't necessarily think that that's true at all. Like I'll open up to people, or I'll be very vulnerable about what I'm feeling, and they'll just tell me, oh, you just need to have confidence. And it's like, oh no, I'm a confident person. It's just right now I just so happen to not be confident. And that's just kind of how life is. I'm a human being. Sometimes I feel this way, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm really afraid, and sometimes I'm fearless. But I think that there's like this stigma behind having a fear, like it's not allowed. And God forbid you even share it, because then if you do share it, then, oh, what, you're not confident in God? Oh, like, it's like, no, I'm a human being, and I'm tired, and I'm like stressed out. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and I think that kind of goes back to the mental health stigma, where if you're a Christian, then you're not allowed to have days where you're off. Or if you're a Christian and you know Jesus, then you should have joy 24/7. But if you look at the different people in the Bible, if you look at Elijah, for example, when he comes down from Mount Carmel, what does he do? He was struck with fear. You got what I'm saying? David, who cuts off the head of Goliath when Saul threatens to kill him. Now you would think that he has this bravery. You would think that he's fearless because he knows God. I mean, he literally took a giant down and cut off its head. He's known God in these intimate ways that I believe that us today in the church these days would never know that God, unless, not that we would never know that God, but it's different. It was different back then. And so David is afraid because King Saul's going to kill him, threatens to kill him. Do you want to know the sword that he grabs was Goliath's sword? Because he was so afraid, he broke into the temple and stole the sword because he was so scared. And so you would say, like, well, that is a man of fear. Like, he's not confident in God. He doesn't have faith in God. If God did it then, but we forget, like, we're human beings. And I think that instead of the hard part about humans, with human to human interaction, is that we respond to each other in our opinion instead of the perspective of God. Not that we should respond in perfection. I'm not asking people to be perfect, but what I'm saying, if someone is sitting with you and sharing their heart or sharing their fears, your response should never be your opinion. Your response needs to be, okay, God, what do you say? How do you respond in this situation? Because we could look at David, we could look at Elijah, we could look at Gideon, we could look at all these people in the Bible, and we read about their triumphs, but God also placed their failures. God placed where they were afraid. God placed all these different moments in the Bible to show us that that's normal, and how God responds when we begin to feel these things, because God responds in different ways. With Elijah, the way that God responded was by telling him to go to sleep and take a nap, and angels began to tend to him. Right? With Gideon was afraid because God called him, and he was like, I'm weak. He started stating facts about himself. I'm weak. I'm this, I'm that. If this is really you, then confirm it 3 or 4 different ways. And what was God's response? It wasn't, you of little faith. That was never God's response. His response was, no. Like, I'm going to confirm it to you because I called you. So God responds to us in different ways. And I think that the hard part about human to human interaction is that there are people that they look at things with how they would respond in a circumstance.
And I like used to be like that until I understood like that's not necessarily what you should be doing.
Every person's different.
Yeah.
So there are some people that, they need confidence. And there are some people that they don't need a confidence talk. They just need you to hear them out.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite quotes, it's an Andy Mineo song. And he says this, he says, I don't need you to humble me. I have a tough enough time loving me.
Yeah.
And it's this reality of like, stop trying to humble me. Stop trying to teach me a lesson. Just love me in this moment. Yeah. Right now, I don't need you to teach me a lesson on confidence. Right now, I just need you to love me.
Yeah.
I just need you to be there for me and be an ear. Yeah. So I think learning to find that balance as friends and as people is hard, but it's necessary.
Yeah. I think for me, a lot of the time, it's that like, it's not that I don't have confidence in myself. Like I don't. I have confidence in God and who he sees me as. That's it. Like at the end of the day, it's not like, oh, I'm all filled with confidence. It's like, no. Like if anything, my fear stems from the place of knowing that I could mess up. Right. Like that's the type of fear that I have. Like me getting in the way is like the scariest thing for me. Right. And when I am having those moments of complete fear and like, wait, like, are you sure I'm called to this? Yeah. It's not necessarily like because I'm not confident in who God called me to be. I'm so scared that I'm just going to get in the way of something. Sure.
Quick Bible lesson for everybody out there because it kind of goes along with what you're saying. I was studying it today. And so I just feel like it's a good thing to share. So there's a story in the Bible where Jesus, it's right before it's like one of his last like sermons to the disciples, right before he's crucified. And there's this man, they're at the bottom of the mountain, and this man brings his son to him, and his son is demonically like possessed. And this man is saying like, I brought him to your disciples, but they couldn't deliver him. And so Jesus gets upset and he goes, how much longer do I have to be with these people who have no faith? Right. And so he heals the boy. He heals a multitude, it says. And then he says that he sits alone with the disciples and they ask him like, Jesus, like, why couldn't we heal him? And he was like, because you had no faith. But if you translate it, it's the word, like that sentence it meant you have a lack of confidence and the ability of God doing what God does through you. Yeah. Right? It wasn't a lack of confidence in God. It was a lack of confidence of God using you to deliver this little boy.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Right. And that's what he meant by you have a lack of faith. Yeah. Because we see it and he's like, dang, like how can he tell his disciples that he had a lack of faith? Like what the heck? Yeah. Like it sounds so harsh, but what he was saying, if you read it in context, if you read the actual like verse in the Greek, what he's saying is that no, it's not that you have a lack of faith in God, you have a lack of faith in God in you. Yeah, right. And so they couldn't deliver the boy because they didn't believe that God could do it through them. Yeah. And so it's easy for us to see, like I said, David killing Goliath and us believing in that God. But when God places us in front of Goliath, we're like, no. No. Because it's like, now it's my turn and I have to believe that God can do it through me. It's not this sense of like, God can do it. We know God can do it, but God doing it through me is a different story. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so like that really spoke to me. I was reading that today and I was like, wow, that really, really spoke to me because and then at the bottom he says, faith as small as a mustard seed. And so we take that and we're like, well, if you believe just a little bit, but that's not what he's saying. He said, if you believe, if you just have this little hint of confidence that God can use you. That's what he meant by it. If you have just a little bit of confidence that God can use you, you can move mountains. It wasn't just believing in God doing it. It was believing that God can do it through you. Even if you have just a little bit of confidence, as small as a mustard seed, you can move mountains. That's what that verse means. It's preached all the time out of context, but in context, that's what he meant by it. Right? And so like, I don't know. I hope that encourages you and other people, like that. Even if you have just a little hint of hope, just a little.
I always do. Yeah.
But that's all it takes. Yeah. It's not like this monumental confidence in God using you. It's just this little mustard seed of confidence. Yeah. You got what I'm saying? And that's what God looks at. That.
I guess the hope also in the fact that it's a small mustard seed is that a seed grows.
Right.
So like your faith, it'll get bigger and bigger over time.
You guys should come to my Bible study on Wednesday night. Short plug. We're learning on building up faith.
Love it. I'm so sorry. You're like over here, like you've been talking about faith for like 5 weeks and I'm over here like, I can't.
No, but it's good because this is what it means to build faith. We talked about it. Like sometimes like God will allow circumstances where you're afraid, and which is why I love this topic so much, because God will allow those circumstances that you're like, oh, I'm afraid, to grow your faith.
Yeah, and I definitely like acknowledge that. Like over this past like 2.5 years, I've noticed like normally if I feel this tug of like, I'm okay, I'm not, I'm okay, I'm not, it's because like God is trying to like work something out in me and teach me something. And normally when I get it really quick.
Yeah.
But the issue is that like when I grow, it's really fast.
Yeah.
But that period is so painful.
Right.
Like it's like a few months of like immense like pressure. Like literally feel like I'm under like immense pressure.
Perfect.
And then I get it and then I'm like, ding, like I'm back to normal. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. No, that's good.
And I'll be okay. I'll be like really good for a few months. And then again, like I'm put under this immense, and I don't know if pressure, like a wine press, I guess would be the best, like,
that's good.
You know,
analogy.
Yeah. But that's where I'm at right now, where like things are kind of setting in, like, oh my God, like I'm planning on releasing everything in July. That's like actually going to happen.
Right.
And I think it's been something that I've been talking about and dreaming about for so long. And and I'm like scared. Like I'm scared that people aren't going to like what I put out. I'm scared people are going to make fun of me. Like that's the biggest thing that is like terrifying, because people are ruthless. Yeah. And it's scary to like put out something that you wrote and that you have been like working on for like a year, and you know, it's under the, you know, scrutiny of other people. Basically, they can say whatever they want about it, which is fine. That's art. Not everybody's going to like it. And I have to come to terms with that. But that's scary. Right. And I'm also scared, since we'll just let everybody know. I'm just scared of like what I envision everything to be not being what I thought it would be. Like being disappointed is a huge like thing. For me, so I'm afraid of that, and I don't know. And then once it's released, okay, then what? Right. Like I'm thinking about that. Like I have like no more nails left on my fingers because I've been like chewing them off, and oh my God, it's just so stressful. I'm so scared, and I tell you, almost every single day, I'm scared. Yeah, and I think what's good is that it's in that confession that God can move. Yeah. I keep bringing up God, and I know like I'm doing this more so than I do in my other podcasts. Like, well, that's good. Yeah. Like what I mean is that the reason why I keep saying like, well, like what God's response is, because I want to show everyone this is what it's like to have a conversation where it's like healthy human to human contact. I could give you my opinion. Of course. Right. And my opinion can be suck it up. Of course. Right? That could be my opinion, but how does that help you? That makes me want to probably die, actually. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, that could be an opinion, right? Yeah. But God's response isn't suck it up. God's response is it's in that confession that I move. Yeah. How do you feel now? I feel so much better. Different, right? It's see, guys? Write it down. This is our therapy session with each other. But my point is that I think that God is, you're in Zarephath right now. Zarephath Church? We're in Zarephath, starting at 9.1. No. Zarephath, which in the Bible, Elijah was taken from Cherith, which means separation, to Zarephath, which means workshop. And it was a place, it was this imagery of a place where metal, it's put in the fire and all the impurities rise from the top and it gets cleansed. Yeah. And so what I love about that is that as Christians, we think that we go through the fire one time, right? Like we think like, been through the fire, I'm good. Like my impurities came up. We are constantly being purified. We are constantly, God is constantly allowing things to raise to the surface so that he can cleanse them off, to prepare us for the next level. Remember, we go glory to glory. Right. But glory to glory means that whatever I struggled with there, God has to correct those things. God has to allow those things to come up and heal me in that glory so that I be prepared for the next glory. And guess what? In the next glory, he does the same thing. Yeah. Right? The testing, the testing is there. The fire is there. All these things are there.
Goliath is there, right? If anything, oh man, I wish that we can have time for our whole Bible lesson. When
God.
David killed Goliath, not a lot of people know this, Goliath had brothers and sisters. So that means that when the Israelites later on, a few chapters after, they had to face Goliath's brothers and his sisters. Like, not a lot of people know that. So yes, he slayed Goliath, but guess what? There was other giants that he had to slay. There was a whole generation of giants that he had to slay. He killed Goliath. Yes. The Philistines fled. Not a lot of people know that, like that they fled. Yes, the Israelites ran after them, but Goliath's siblings fled, and David later on had to face those people.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? And so my point in bringing that up is that sometimes we face Goliath, but we have Goliath's brother, Goliath's sister, his son. We have all these other Goliaths that we have to face.
Yeah.
And like, and it's not to discourage, but it's to encourage, because like you face that Goliath.
I'd say, this time it's almost like I am Goliath. Like I'm my own Goliath. Like, I feel like I get in the way of myself all the time.
Right.
Whereas I feel this is the first time where I am my own Goliath, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas before, when I was facing things and being
it was
purified,
other people.
Yeah, it was other people,
other
or just
situations,
like different circumstances and stuff. Whereas now this is all just me.
Right.
Like I'm facing myself. Like I'm facing myself in the mirror and I hate it.
Right.
And it's just really scary because I can't, like, it's really up to me now, because it's me against me.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not like me against someone else or this or that. Like, it's just me and myself.
Yeah. Well, I'm really encouraged by you sharing this, because I think a lot of people have this struggle and they don't know how to put it into words. Like, this is what I'm facing and this is what I'm feeling. And so, like, I think that this is super encouraging. I know, like, it's not like we're airing you out like your dirty laundry.
I feel great. Like, I think that this is so good, and I'm never really afraid to share, like, what's going on in my head. Yeah. So this is authenticity and vulnerability at its finest. But like, I want to encourage you, like, you're not alone. Like, you do have a support system, and like, we love you, we support you. And like, you're allowed to have foggy faith sometimes. Yeah, that's how it feels.
And like, in the foggy faith, we're here to give you hope, right? Which is perspective. We're here to cleanse it, right? And give you just a different outlook, bigger picture look. Yeah. And so, like, I just want to encourage you. I don't know if that encourages you or not. Does, and anyone out there, like, if you need encouragement, if you need to just talk, if you need someone to listen, like, let us know. We'll go grab coffee. We've been grabbing coffee with a lot of people lately. And they've just been sharing their hearts, and it's been super encouraging, not only for us, but for them. So if you're that person and you just need to talk, you just need to just be like, yo, I'm afraid. I need perspective again. Can you help me give perspective? Hit us up. Yeah. We're here for you. We love you guys. So yeah, that's good. Yeah. This is all good.
It's like a lot of facing myself and all this stuff. And another thing that I'm afraid is like of people not listening or not caring, because at the end of the day, that's what I do it for. I'm not necessarily, I don't know, I'm really different. I'm weird. I feel different and weird, like, because I hear a lot of musicians and artists say, like, oh, I just make music because I love to make it. And I do enjoy it. Like, I have definitely come to, like, enjoy it. Like, you see, like, when I'm writing and when I get in that, like, inspiration, like, I'm having the best time. And it's so much fun to, like, share, like, what I just wrote with you or, like, my parents. And I love that time. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I'm not just writing to get something off my chest. I'm writing to help somebody or to speak into somebody's life. So my fear is that nobody's going to listen and no one's going to care. And then what am I here for? Yeah. Then everything's over.
I can kind of relate to that. I think, I mean, I have the same thing where, like, my life is very much for other people.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Like, my life is very much the same exact thing, where it's like, okay, everything that I do is for the advancement of other people. Yeah. Joshua's sole job was to get other people into the promised land, was to bring them into victory from the wilderness of the promised land. And I feel like God, part of my calling is to release people from bondage and restore them back into the promise that God has for them, right? Restore them back to Jesus. But I feel the same thing where I'm like, every time I've been having like these opportunities to preach, but every time, even on Bible study, when I get up, I'm like, okay, I don't want to just teach to teach.
Right.
I don't want to just preach because it's a good opportunity. I feel like this pressure of like, okay, like how do we, not that it's me, like I'm totally,
right. No,
like
I know what you're saying.
understand that it's through Christ, right? I'm just a vessel. Like I know whoever wants to throw that at me, I know it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I get all that. But my point is that there's this fear of like, okay, I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm.
What if it doesn't land?
Yeah, like what if it doesn't take?
You know what I'm saying? Like you know the biggest like punch in my gut is when I call for an altar call and no one comes up.
And
I'm like,
that's
solid.
Terrifying.
Solid. Like
I know, because that would happen to me too. Like I worship, but I'd be like, all right, anybody want to come to the front? And there's like crickets, and I'm like,
you're like, threw it out there.
All right, guess I'll just start singing.
Caught nothing.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. And little by little, they start trickling in.
Yeah.
But like, it's that first like, oh, like, was my message not enough? Like, God, did I get it wrong? Like, did I deliver it wrong? Was I too aggressive in it? Because, I'm hella aggressive.
Right.
So I'm like, like, did I turn people off?
No,
like,
you're
you know what I'm saying?
Better. But yeah, I get what you're saying. You are getting better and better.
But it's that fear. And I think, like, for me, I guess what's kind of different, but along the same lines, because we have different platforms, but that same fear of like, okay, like it's for other people.
Yeah.
Like my callings for other people is like people automatically, which is like what I've been trying to break away from, is like Stephanie is on the pulpit. Now they don't know Stephanie off the pulpit.
Right.
And like Stephanie off the pulpit needs to be Stephanie on the pulpit. Like there's this stigma that I believe that Christians place on other Christians where it's like, okay, you're preaching, so that means that everything you say from this point on is heaven sent. Like I remember having that conversation with someone where I said to them like, well, I don't believe in love at first sight. And they had a straight up mental breakdown. Like I'm just sharing my opinion. And they're like, oh no, but everything you say. And I'm like, yo, chill. Like, I'm just sharing my opinion. They're like, oh, but you're Pastor Stephanie. And I'm like, I'm a human being. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was like, we were at the beach. Like, we were like, it was just super chill. But like, my point is that like, and I've seen that like so much more lately, especially like, when I sit with people, they like, when I counsel them or when I work things through with them, they're like, it's hard for them to see me as a normal human from that point out. So when I act like a normal human, they're like
what?
Taken off guard and they're like almost disappointed that I'm not a superhero. And like I have to deal with the weight of that disappointment. Like they're disappointed in me for acting like a human being, for making mistakes. And I remember I was actually telling, shout out Andrea, she listens to our podcast.
Hi Andrea, I can't wait to meet you.
So at one point she'll listen to this. But I was telling her today, like, hey Andrea, like I'm afraid of making a mistake. Like, because of, I know the standard that people hold me to.
It's scary.
I know that it's unspoken, but I can feel it. Like, I feel the standard. And I'm like, I am so afraid that I cannot meet that standard. And I know when people are disappointed in me because they set an unrealistic expectation for me, because I can do all these things, or because God has gifted me in all these different areas, that if I for 1 second slip and act like a human, it's like this like
over for them.
Oh it's like this like weight of like disappointment, shame, and guilt.
Well, I think that's not on you though, that's on that person, because
but
at the end of the day,
but I think it's triggered me so much that I have this fear of like everything that I step into, I have this fear that expectation is automatically set. Not that people are making me feel that way, it's just this fear because it's what I've lived through for 6 years or 5.5 years. It's what I've lived through, like this intense expectation that now every time I step into something new, I'm like, okay, Steph, you're a human being.
I'd say,
like, be a human. It's okay to make a mistake. You know what I mean?
I say that's how I feel. Kind of the opposite. Here, I'll explain first. Like I'm really scared. I'm just scared overall of everything.
We're gonna get you a shirt that says I'm just really scared.
But another thing we can add to the list, everybody, if you want to jot this one down, is in July when everything comes out. Well, that's when we're planning for everything to come out. I'm putting on an event for the whole release of everything, and I'm going to invite anybody. You just have to RSVP. Anybody can come, and I'm going to put on an event, and I'm going to do a live show. And I'm terrified because it's been like 2.5 years since I've even sang in front of people like that before.
Right.
And it's been 8+ years since I've done something that's singing outside of a church. So I don't even know what I'm going to do.
Right.
Like I don't know who I am in that regard. Because I've changed so much over the past 2 years and then 8+ years.
Right.
That like I don't even know what to expect from myself.
Right.
And so I'm really nervous like that for, like you were saying, like how people view you in this way, and when when you don't reach that expectation, they get disappointed. That's how I feel because people have always told me that even when I was doing my music when I was young, like there's something different about you. Like I remember I was doing a contest to like play at Bamboozle. We won, by the way. The guy who was judging, they threw you up on the stage, and the panel like judged you in front of all these people. And he was like, there's something about you, like I don't know what it is, but like there's something different about you. And I was probably like 14 then or 13 then. And my whole life, even obviously at church, like people would say that like there's something different. Like a grown man came up to me, he sat me down, and he was like, you changed my life by just singing. Mm-hmm. Like you changed my perspective on God. Like I had a really hard heart, and you started singing, and everything changed inside of me. Mm-hmm. And so I'm scared that's
gone.
Not that. Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's gone. Like that's scary.
Right.
Because I don't know.
Right.
It's been so long.
Right.
And so I'm really, really scared that like I just don't even know what to expect. Like, I don't even know what I'm going to say.
Right. Because she's a rusty girl.
It's not even rusty, though. It's like, no, it's not even that I'm rusty, because you throw me up in those situations and it all comes back.
You want me to practice? You want to practice?
No, I don't. I don't want to practice. You're my audience every day. I'm sitting on the keyboard playing all these songs. You're fine.
But we could practice. Like I get on a drum and like I could.
No, we're not doing a full band.
Like find
what?
Got your back.
Find like an ant to like play like the violin. Like what? Anyway, so yeah, I'm like, I just don't know what's gonna come out of my mouth. I don't know what I'm gonna feel. Like, what if I get up there and I'm like, this ain't it?
Yeah, then I'll get up there. I'll start preaching. You just play the keyboard in the background.
I mean, like, what if I get up there and I'm like, nah, I don't want to do this.
Then you don't want to do it.
Shoot,
then you don't want to do it. Then you don't want to do it, and you just put out singles.
My mom listening, I think she just had a heart attack. We need to go check on her real quick. Mom? Everything's okay.
Where's Joe?
Yeah.
Where's Joe?
Dad will tell you everything is okay. Breathe. I'm just sharing what I'm feeling.
It's not a forever thing.
Yeah, but
we're not let off of feelings. We're okay, Mom. We're okay.
So that's just what I'm feeling.
We hear her like praying.
So, yeah.
She starts praying.
Yeah, we hear, what the heck? Yeah.
The joke is over.
The joke's done, and I'm still trying to pour out my soul to you, and you're just making jokes.
Go. I'm listening.
Yeah, so that's like, what are you doing?
Taking a picture of you for your boyfriend.
Why? I don't have one.
I know, but for your future boyfriend. So just before Liz continues to share, I take random pictures of her so I can send them as blackmail to her soon-to-be boyfriend.
Soon-to-be who?
If any guy decides to ask you out.
I'm not talking to nobody.
I know, but if it happens or whatever, I have all this blackmail.
I'm so glad. What if nothing happens? But
what if it does?
I know, and that.
But what if it does?
Good. But I'm a pessimist.
I know. I'm such an optimist.
Yeah, you are.
But I'm saying, like, what if it does?
I know. That's
like,
scary.
what if you take the step and it's everything you've ever dreamed of? Would you rather live in regret, never taking the step and wondering, or would you take the step? No, my thing though is that like, this is the first time in my life where I am so like terrified, but at the same time I'm like, no, I'm still running towards it. It's like skydiving.
Yeah.
It's like you're afraid to jump out of the plane, but there's no turning back now. Yeah. Like you have to jump.
Right.
Like you have to.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice. But you almost want to throw up and you're like.
Oh no, like I had thrown up. I'm probably going to throw up while I'm jumping out of the plane. Yeah, I just like, that's gross. That's poor, whatever. That's a scene. Yeah, so I just like.
People are on the beach and they like drop some stuff.
Sick. No, this is just like the first time where I've been so like terrified that, and I'm just like, but I have to face it.
Yeah.
So there is no, I'm not doing this because I'm afraid that I'll regret it one day. I'm doing this because I know this is what I'm supposed to do. But sometimes it doesn't feel that way.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean? That's normal.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You're okay.
Yeah, I'm okay.
This is the talk we have every single morning. Okay. That's okay. You're okay.
I know. God.
I'm my biggest fan. Quote unquote Sue McEwen.
God. One day I'll be able to say that and actually mean it, but
yeah, it's okay. We're working up to it.
Yeah, we're getting there.
So now that we've placed all the fears on the table, I want to talk about
not even all of them. I have so many more, but go ahead.
But I'm saying, like, now that we've like kind of aired some of it, like I want to talk about some ways to overcome it, and like I don't want to just like talk about these are our fears and kind of leave it there.
Really, bye.
Yeah, and people are like, okay, how did that help me?
Yeah.
I kind of want to talk about some ways to kind of overcome these things, because it's normal to feel it. It's normal for it to come up. Now, what do you do when it does come up, right? Yeah. Like when you're there and Goliath is taunting to rip your skin off and feed it to the birds, like that's literally what Goliath said. I don't know why we teach this to children and we just we make it so PG when in reality, this is what he was saying. I'm going to tell my children that. Think I'm playing.
You will. I will too.
Yeah, right? Like this is what David was up against. It like almost like makes it feel. Anyway, I'm sorry. I was going on a rant. You're
such a nerd.
I'm sorry. Anyway, I want to talk about steps to overcome. So
I'd say one of the key steps for me is talking it out.
Right.
That's just how I work.
Perspective.
In general. Yeah. Just to have somebody to sit there and listen and like you said earlier, not give an opinion,
right?
But genuinely just give their perspective, or even just sit there and listen and like just remind me. I think another like something that's really important is like to have someone there to remind you of who you are and how far you've come, like the things that God has like already done like with you, and because you do that for me all the time. You remind me of like who I am, and that really helps me a lot.
Yeah. And I feel like if you are someone that you don't have a person to talk to, again, like we're here for you.
Yeah.
Like don't be afraid to kind of reach out and like message us. Like we're here to listen.
Yeah. I totally understand it. Like I totally understand like a crippling fear, or sometimes like recently I've been so like overwhelmed with it, of fear of failure and all that I just want to sleep all day, because the reality of like having those thoughts all day is like really, really, really a lot. That I'd rather just sleep, because when I'm sleeping I feel safe.
Right.
And yeah, so yeah, if you don't have anybody, like reach out, because it's so important to talk to somebody about it.
Yeah, Gilbert was sharing steps towards mental health, and one of it was open communication with someone you trust.
Yeah.
Like having that door open so that they know they can always come to you. One thing that people will always say, I have friends that still message me from like 7 years ago, amazing. 8 years ago. Yeah. They're going through stuff and they'll just we don't hang out, we don't talk, but they know like that door is always open for them to come and speak to me. And so like I think that's huge. Like wherever life takes you, if you have a person that door is always open, then speak with them, have that communication with them, let them listen to you. It's like the Bible talks about like mourn with those who mourn, rejoice with those who rejoice. That's what that means. It talks about like a community. Like if someone is beat down, sit there with them and help them up. If someone is crying, then you cry with them. You listen to them. You rejoice with them. You celebrate with them. It's these seasons that we walk through. If it wasn't normal, why would God say those things, right? If it wasn't normal for us to have in the face of fear, and again, we can quote scripture. We can quote 1 Corinthians, like perfect love cast out fear. So invite the perfect love in. We're not talking about a demonic spirit.
Right.
Like those two are very different things.
Yeah.
If you have a demonic spirit, and here's how you can tell the difference between the two. A demonic spirit will cause you, like it's in your actions, it will cause you to withdraw in yourself, isolate. It will cause you to not even want to communicate anything to anyone, because that's what a spirit of fear does. Right? A normal like human, like, okay, I'm feeling weak, okay, like I'm facing myself, like you said, I'm facing these thoughts, like that normal fear that happens when we're called into something big, or when we're stepping into something, that normal fear will always push you towards community, and the result is always fruit. Right? Whereas the opposite, the result is always you lose parts of yourself, you numb, right? You don't want anything to do with anyone, you shut down. That fear is where we need to invite the love of God in. And how do we invite the love of God in? It's not just praying, it's through community, it's through listening, it's through talking, it's through perspective. That's what the love of God looks like in action. Make sense? Yeah. And so like those are steps to overcoming those two things. You know what I mean? And so like, yeah, perspective, talking it out. I would also say like getting alone with yourself. I always say this, like, again, not isolating. I'm not saying isolating. I'm saying like taking a step back, whether you're in the shower or whether you're driving home from work, to be like, okay, am I okay?
Yeah, that's what I do, because I'm so weird. Every morning I don't know how I'm gonna feel. I can't tell you if tomorrow I'm going to feel okay, if tomorrow I'm not. And that's regardless of what's going on in my life. It's just how I've always been. And normally in the morning when I'm on my way to work, I'll sit there and just like play music like really low and just think like, okay, how am I feeling? Am I feeling like this? No. Am I feeling like that? Yes. Okay. And then by the time I get to work, I can be like, okay, this is where I'm at in my head mentally.
Right.
Like, and going from on where I'm at in my head mentally, I'll be like, okay, I need to reach out to somebody to ask for either prayer or just tell somebody what's going on in my head. 9 times out of 10, it's you. Yeah. It's Steph. Or some mornings I'm just like, oh, I'm good.
Right.
I'm good.
Yeah.
So I think like getting it before like it rears its head is really important. That's as good. Well. Yeah, that's especially good. If you have kind of like a personality like me, or if you're a really heavy thinker like me, or you overthink a lot like me. Yeah. Trying to get it before it becomes an issue is really important. So I would say, yeah, like spending some like time with yourself to just figure out where you're at in your head.
Yeah, I was reading this book called Heart Made Whole, and it was talking about like steps to wholeness in your heart. And one of the things that they said was it's called the heart check. Yeah. Like have you sat with your heart today and said like, okay, how are you feeling? Yeah. Like, okay, I know that more so this is directed towards females, but I believe that there are some males that need to do some heart checks. Yeah. Like that need to sit there and be like, all right, am I okay? Like there are some males that don't even know how to connect with their emotions, and so they walk around like robots. It's fine. But like it's important, whether you're a male or you're a female, to sit there and have a heart check. Yeah. Like, am I all right? Am I tired? What do I need to do? Do I need to rest? Do I need to enjoy life? Right. Like, do I need to take a break from working, or like from striving, or from doing all these things and working toward? Do I need to take a break and go to the beach? Right. Like, do I need to have some fun?
Yeah, like changing up your routine. Right. Or because for a little bit, for the past, like since January, I'd say we've kind of been staying low and like staying home. Where in the summer, I feel like we were...
Girl, since January?
You know, I mean on like Fridays and stuff, like we were busy doing things, but as far as it was like going and having fun. So I think for me, like last week, I was like, you know what, Steph, like, can we like just start going out again on like a Friday night, or like a Saturday night, or something, like go out to dinner, or like just go to even like a cafe or somewhere, because I need to get out. And I think it's important to understand like, okay, it's time to switch up our routine a little bit and do something new and fun. Or maybe we just want to stay in and do puzzles. Right. Like it really just depends on where you are, but be really attentive with where you are in your mind. Yeah. Because that's so important.
Yeah. And I also think like
Hello?
I lost my thought. Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. So, I mean, this is just like a few steps to overcome. Obviously, every person's different.
Yeah.
Some people like genuinely just need to watch a movie.
Yeah,
or
sleep.
like some people
Take a
need to
nap.
sleep, or just like go and get like a really good meal.
Yeah.
Like, or just
That's how I am, girl.
That's what I'm saying. Like every
like my
person's
love
different.
language.
Every person is totally different. So like it's important to like know yourself and know how you work.
Right.
And when you're in a place where you're like, man, I have all this fear, like I know I'm stepping into something different and I'm afraid or whatever it is, and like you want to continue to move forward but you don't know how, it's important to know how you work so that you can address those things properly.
And I also think like it depends on the fear, for me at least.
Right.
So for example, this fear that I'm facing, there's so many that it's so overwhelming that I need to distract myself.
Sure.
But I think that sometimes there are fears where you just need to face it head on, do it, get it over with, and then move on. But this is one of those things where like I'm not going to necessarily feel peace. Well, I wouldn't say peace, but I'm not necessarily going to like be able to fully face this fear until like July, August time.
Yeah.
So from this time to then, like I can't necessarily do anything about it other than like obviously talk it out and, you know, pray and all that. But healthy distractions are a thing.
Sure. Yeah.
So
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think it just depends on like what type of fear you're dealing with.
Yeah. Yeah. We love you guys. If you are someone that you don't have someone to talk to, hit us up.
Yeah.
If you want to be on the podcast, hit us up.
Yeah. And make sure you follow us on all of our socials. We will link it all down below.
Yeah.
Or in the description box or wherever you listen to us. It's there somewhere.
Yep. We love you guys so much. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, share it. And let us know if you have any more topics you want us to talk about.
Because we're running out.
Hence this topic. We love you guys so much. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Dang it, we do that every time. We will speak to you next week. We won't see them.
We won't even speak with them. We'll speak at them.
Oh my golly gee. Okay.